It's often the little things, small behaviors that can change our lives. That's the power of a financial edge. I'm Ed Meek. I'm a financial advisor with a passion to help you retire early, save more, and live better. Welcome to Ed's Edge, the podcast to help you live the life you've always wanted. My father was a factory worker. My mom was a telephone operator. We were mainstream middle class, and we spent every penny of that mainstream middle class money. Rarely was there any left in the bank.
For us, we also had middle class income, but we did not spend all of that middle class income. We lived pretty frugally. I remember times we would negotiate campground sites, negotiate certain flea market prices, believe it or not, shop around for gas prices, things like that. So we did not spend all that middle class money, Ed.
Yeah, I bet your dad wouldn't have liked me in this one situation when I was in high school. So my mom gave me the credit card, and I was going shopping, and polos were really cool at the time in high school, and I wanted polos.
Who didn't?
I ended up buying 5 polos. And this is on, again, middle class money. And I remember coming home feeling guilty but wanting them, and my mom allowing it, even though it created problems. So anyways, so I don't know if you've noticed, things are a little different here, aren't they?
I like the look.
Yeah. Well, we hope so. We hope you like the look too. This new table, new background. We're in a new building. We're moving in.
If you've ever had that feeling of we're moving in, but we don't feel fully settled yet, well, that's us right now.
That's right.
But we needed to record this for you. It was certainly a topic on mine that we wanted to make sure that we share. And so the next upcoming podcast will certainly have some more color. But in the meantime, we are thrilled to be here.
This is our general look, but we're going to be tweaking it as time goes on. But yeah, we're excited to be here.
Yeah, so let's dig right in. So we shared our personal stories, which, by the way, I think we need to make sure we share our personal child pictures so you can get a feel on little Ed and little James. But we shared those stories because we wanted to discuss with you 7 lessons we've learned about money, various elements of money. And a lot of these lessons have to do with how we grew up. But let's dig right into what these lessons are. As a little bit of background, we have dealt with hundreds, if not over 1,000 people in various stages of life, various backgrounds, and these are our takeaways.
So there's these 7 lessons that we think are super helpful to learn about money, that if you follow them, you're on a good path. So number 1, identify your money mindset. Everybody has a money mindset, and some people's are very, very different, we've come across, right? I mean,
yeah.
And there's a handful of them out there. Let's go through them real quick. So the first one is the saver. The saver is frugal. They're almost like scared, and they just save because out of fear. Not always, but oftentimes they just will save. And that's their number 1 thing.
Yep. Then there's the opposite, the spender. Mm-hmm. The person, don't worry about tomorrow. Let's live it up for today. That's so important to us is, live it up.
Immediate gratification.
Yes, the spender.
The investor. This person probably ends up maximizing things the most because they realize that if I invest, and not just invest willy-nilly, but like they focus on real estate, on stocks, on
everything's seen as an investment.
And it's going to grow, and that usually is pretty helpful to have that mindset.
Yeah. And then there's the optimist. Nothing can go wrong. Take risks, right? Those type of things. That's the optimist.
Optimists can do a good job sometimes, and sometimes they're too optimistic and they take risks that they shouldn't. Then there's the avoider. Sometimes we see these people a little too late, right? They're within a few years of retirement. They might even are coming to us right when they're retiring because they just avoided. And sometimes we get some people who become clients, but we've been talking to them for months and months and years, and they keep avoiding it because it brings anxiety.
Yeah. And then, the probably the last big one is the pessimist. We had a podcast, The Seduction of Pessimism, how easy it is to be negative about certain things and have that unnecessary fear. And so let's be clear, all these, no judgment, we are who we are.
Right.
And there's pros and cons of each and every one. But the takeaway here is be aware of your own, because you have biases. And if you can overcome those biases, they will really help you moving forward with the decisions that you want to make.
Yeah. If you know what yours tend to be, and you're not just one, usually you're like a combination of a couple few. And if you know what those are and you work with those, you can really take advantage of it.
Here's an example. I'll keep it very brief. Example on the saver versus the spender. That's a common one. The saver, pro of the saver is they're set up for their future. Very often, as long as they invest that money, right? But they have the good behaviors. They sometimes have regrets about their past and what they weren't able to do. I have plenty of stories on that.
That's the saver who's the optimist, okay? The saver who's the pessimist puts their money in CDs, right?
Yeah, yep.
So it's good to know which one you are.
Yep. Compare that with the spender, right? They don't have very many regrets at all. They're traveling, going across the country, visiting, but then reality hits about retirement and they may be working longer than they really wanted. So pros and cons of each one. Be aware of yours.
Yeah.
Great. Number 2, set clear financial goals. You've heard this plenty before. We want to create an additional spin on that. Not just goals, but values. And so, we have these goals of I want to retire by a certain time. I can't tell you how many times I've heard people say, I want to retire at 65 because that's when Medicare kicks in. And I want to live on $100,000 a year. That is not a goal. What is a goal, Ed?
Well, a goal would be, I want to retire. When I retire, I want a certain lifestyle. That lifestyle is going to cost X amount of money. I'd like to do it around this age. And the only way to specifically get real clear on your goals is to do some planning around this. We talk about it in many of the other podcasts, but you have to be very, very specific. And if you're good at doing this on your own, there's tools out there on the internet that you could do this. Takes a little bit of time, a little bit of effort. If not, that's when going and seeing a professional. That's where we're able to really, really help people crystallize and they can exhale and go, okay, I've got a plan now.
Yeah. Well said. All right. Number 3.
Play your game and ignore the noise.
What does that mean? Play your game and ignore the noise.
I don't know. What would be a good example maybe in like a sport, like baseball?
Yeah. So if I can think about when I used to play baseball, one of the most exciting yet nerve-wracking pieces of playing baseball was I was up to bat. I was an okay hitter. I was a much better fielder. Hitting, I'm up to bat, and let's say it's an intense moment. The crowd's going crazy. The pitch is about to come. I have to focus.
Your mom is yelling, right? Was it your mom or dad that yelled?
My mom never yelled. No. It was my father.
Yeah, you could hear it. You could hear him chirping, right? Yeah.
Exactly. And so there's noise coming at me, but I have to stay focused on my game. Is that a curveball coming? Is that a fastball coming? Though I got to block out all the noise. Think about with investing and the news and everything coming our way. They don't know your goals. They don't know who you are. They don't know what you're striving for. Play your game.
We see it. The examples are, it's just so many constant ones. It's like, what's the next ghost around the corner? If we just look back over the 30 years I've been doing this, the ghost has recently been the recession. Just had a meeting recently and, was talking about their investments and was like, well, I know we don't time the market, but what about like the recession? What should we do if the recession hits? Do you think it's going to hit? I'm like, a recession's going to hit.
We just don't know when.
We don't know when. Right. It could be soon. It could be in a few years. If it's in a few years, you better make sure you're still on the train. And so that noise, if you follow the game plan, having a good game plan, you don't worry about that noise. You don't worry about the inflation noise. Inflation's inflation. Everything costs more. It's affecting things. At the end of the day, if you ignore these little noises, then life will work out just fine. Another one is Russia, China, what's going on in the world. There's always noise about what's going on and how the world's affecting. And if it's not now, it could be Iraq someday. At the end of the day, those things really don't affect things very much. if you play the game the right way.
It's really interesting because those individuals who have a solid game plan, that stick to the game plan and frankly be a little selfish about that game plan to some degree for themselves and their families, those are the ones that don't stress often as much when these noise factors, because they have the direction.
Right.
When you're driving and you don't know where you're going and there's a roadblock, we get anxious.
Yeah.
Right. We know we're on our destination and we're not deviating off the road. We feel okay.
Yeah. Well, they trust the process. They trust, we're in the trust business. If they're working with us, then they trust us. And the more, it's not just us, but we're just following a game plan. And if they trust that, then they get a lot less stressed about these things and don't worry about those.
Number 4, stay humble financially. Stay humble financially. So what do we mean by that? I want to share a story that hit home for me. Bill Gates versus Kent Evans.
Oh, Kent Evans. Who's Kent Evans?
Exactly. Who is Kent Evans? So Kent Evans and Bill Gates were childhood friends. They're both incredibly intelligent, very entrepreneurial, both of them. Bill Gates to this day has stated that Kent Evans had a little bit more of an IQ even than Bill Gates did. And so why is Bill Gates where he is? And we have never heard about Kent Evans. Unfortunate incident. Senior year of high school, I believe it was senior year of high school, Kent Evans died in a car accident.
Wow.
He's no longer here with us. And so why do I share this story? The takeaway is, let's be careful on who we put on a pedestal. I don't want to take anything away from Bill Gates, right? Let's be careful who we put on a pedestal. There's a lot of luck that's involved in there. And before we think, oh, that's what I want to get to, it's not always that easy.
Well, what we're talking about here is the 1/10 of 1%. Bill Gates is
the 1/1000th of 1%.
Yeah, really. Yeah, exactly.
If that, right?
Right. And let's face it. I mean, James, I hate to break it to you, but you're not the 1/1000th, and nor am I. And if you're watching this right now, nor are you. Because if you are, you probably are like, no, I'm overcoming. I'm gonna beat the odds or whatever. Almost none of us are. And that's why we're doing what we're doing here. And that's why if you don't think you are and you follow these, then it works out.
And because you're not, that doesn't mean you have failed.
No.
There's so many people that have phenomenal lives.
If you do it, you're very successful.
Exactly.
Like this works out.
Yeah.
Right. So, that's a good one and it's helpful.
Yep.
The next one, number 5, be responsible. Don't sweat the small stuff. Sometimes people will focus on what they didn't do in the past, focus on mistakes, focus on, things they might be doing now. Don't focus on that. Just focus on what can I do to be responsible. I think you just told me a good example recently.
Yeah. So on the financial end, I have goals on my son's college fund. And last year I didn't get to that target, that contribution amount I wanted, but that's okay.
Right.
That's okay. There's bumps in the road, right? We'll go back to sports. Even the professional athletes strike out. Right. It happens, right? So
everybody goes through lulls. Everybody does well. Like it all kind of evens out if you just keep doing it. You're responsible.
If you're married to those numbers, you're going to create unnecessary stress for you. Mm-hmm. Just have that big picture idea and track yourself.
We really work hard to get the money. We shouldn't really worry about every single dollar and what it should do specifically on all these little things, kind of like that. I mean, good attitude. I don't know, maybe initially it might've been hard when you're like, I didn't quite do as much, but it's going to work out in the long run. If you kind of think about the big picture, you're going to have enough or close to enough for Theo and you can kind of make it up.
Yeah, exactly. Accountability is important, but let's be careful on that. All right. Number 6. Quote from Mr. Warren Buffett. Cost is what you pay. Value is what you get. What does that mean? Those that are very, very, going back to our mindsets, right? They're savers, they're frugal, what have you. They pay attention. This might be yourself, right? You pay attention to what everything costs and saving and getting that discount on everything. Be careful. Why do we need to be careful on that, Ed?
Well, if you end up like spending money a lot on something and it doesn't provide good value, then it goes negative. Or sometimes you can buy things that are, not too much and still provide everything you want. But if you cut corners and it ends up not being a good product, you just keep paying. I mean, how often do we say to ourselves, you get what you pay for, you get what you pay for? You buy something that's kind of cheap, it breaks, and you're like, why did I do that? I do that.
I saved $1,000 on the fridge, and 4 years later, I have an issue, right? And now I got to spend $2,000 to fix it.
You told me something about this, I think when you were young, right? About a baseball glove or something.
Yeah. So this is a personal lesson I learned without realizing it, probably at 13 years old, is I saved up some money for a baseball glove, but I wanted a baseball glove really, really quickly. And I saved up that money and I bought myself a baseball glove. And then I was careful on, how much I spent on that baseball glove. And so I didn't buy the one that I really should have bought, even an okay glove. I bought a very cheap one. And gosh, 5 games in, ball went right through my glove.
Oh, wow. Like one of those real loose ones, it's like a hole. Huh?
It was a brand new glove.
Yeah.
You get what you pay for, James.
Yeah, exactly. And we've all done it a million times, right?
Yeah. So, Ed, what is the best investment you've ever made?
Marrying Catherine. No, okay. It is marrying Catherine, but let's talk about, she's been very helpful, but I would say investing in myself. And this is really, I think, the last one, which is the best investment you can make is in yourself. And so for me, my story is, been in the investment field for 30 years now. The first half of my career was with a great company called Fidelity Investments. I really, really had so many positive things, but then at some point in time wanted to be like, you know what, I've got some ideas. I can't quite do it at Fidelity. And so I got to go out on my own. And starting Edge now, I think we're at 18 years. I think it was the best investment I ever made. I mean, you can invest certainly money in certain things, but if you invest in yourself and what your skill set is and what you're good at, it can really pay off in spades. And fortunately, so far, it has been that. I mean, we're here, we're growing. We got James. So I think that's where the highest dividends can pay off, is if you invest in yourself in certain ways, even if you're in corporate America or wherever else you're at, do what you really, really have a passion for, if you're able to do that. And even if you don't love what you're doing, figure out, how can I invest in myself to capitalize on that? Because then it ends up paying off in spades, down the road in various ways.
Yeah. Investments in and of themselves are not necessarily strictly money oriented, right? And so an example might be, let's say you're working in corporate America, but you have a goal of raising my child in a certain way, to create this life for them that, they'll want. There are books on that will help you. Mm-hmm. Right. And that's investing in yourself to be the best parent you can be.
And in our field, what we both did, I remember when I was at Fidelity. So I get this job at Fidelity. It's awesome. I love it. And then I realized there's this thing at the time, not a lot of advisors have it, but it's called Certified Financial Planner. And most of us have heard about that now. And it's certainly more common. It's still maybe, I don't know what the statistic is, 10, 15% of the advisors have it. But back then, I think it was less. And I just thought, I want to be the best at what I can do. And being a certified financial planner is just that. And then, you were doing it too, and you ended up doing it too. And we really, really value that and believe that it can be very helpful for our clients. And it puts us in the best place to be able to help our clients and be the best at what we do.
Exactly. And so focusing on what makes us happy too. Let's not lose sight of that. It's not just the end goal. It's the enjoy the journey and invest in yourself along that journey. So, hopefully you found these tips very helpful. We'll be posting that on our website, these 7 tips for yourself. With all that said, it is time for Ed's Food for Thought.
We already told you there's some growing pains. We just moved into a new place. Forgot the hat. So just pretend that there's a hat and we shall move on. All right. This is a great one. Summer. Just went to a family reunion out in Iowa. had a wonderful little treat that my aunt made, and it brought back great memories. And the memories are, I love Reese's. Don't know if you know this, but Reese's is the number one candy, like most popular candy in the, at least the US. Yeah, like ahead of Snickers. Anyways, I love Reese's. Easter one year, I'm like 8. My mom makes an Easter basket and just puts all Reese's in there one time. What happens is it's before church Sunday morning. I eat like 6 or 7 of them. I'm like 8 or 9 years old. And let's just say it didn't go over well. Wasn't feeling great, but I love Reese's. So I would eat them if I could. On to the recipe. So there's these little things that look like bonbons on the treat table that my aunt made. And so I take a bite of it. It's chocolate on the outside, and it's like this creamy peanut butter mixture thing on the inside. And it really has a hint of a Reese's. And I thought it was awesome. So I asked her, I got the recipe. Now I have it. I make them. They're awesome.
And you're going to share them with everybody.
Yeah, maybe I'll make them, bring them into the office.
All right. I'm looking forward to that. I think myself and my son. So good stuff. Thank you so much, everyone. We'll talk to you next time.
Thanks. This podcast represents an assessment of the market environment at a specific point in time, should not be relied upon as investment advice, and is not intended to predict or depict performance of any investment. Any specific recommendations or comparisons that are made as to particular securities or strategies are for illustrative purposes only and are not meant as investment advice for any viewer.